The moment you say to fear, I'm not afraid of you, I'm coming to find out what you are, I'm going to root you out and shine a light on you to show that I am not afraid, show that I have the power over fear. Fear has no power of me. I have the power over fear. I'm going to look at you. I'm going to see exactly what you are and see how you're manipulating me while remaining in a state of peace. That's when fear runs away. That's when fear disappears. It only stays, it only continues to have a hold on you when you run away from it. Because you are validating the fear. Just in the act of running, just in the act of distracting yourself, in the act of trying to get away from something, you validate that there is a threat. There is no threat. Now I'm here to de-hypnotize you because the truth requires no hypnosis. It's the illusion to get you believing an illusion, which is what the media is doing, by the way. The media is almost entirely being harnessed to get you believing, to get you creating this picture in your mind that is simply not true. Simply not true. This is why billions upon billions and billions of dollars, pounds are spent every year to cultivate these messages which put ideas in your head that aren't true. The media is a powerful tool to implant a vision in your mind of anything it wants to. Anything the media wants to implant in your mind, it can. And when all of the media is working together to get you to perceive a certain reality, to perceive the future in a certain way, then hypnosis is very, very strong and very all-pervading. It's very hard not to, if you're looking at the media, it's very hard not to absorb this vision, this picture of reality. And what we really need to be focusing on is the divine vision of reality, because that is what we're all looking for. That is what we're all desperate for. It's what we're all longing for. That is what fulfills the deepest needs, all of the deepest needs that we have in the core of our being. That is what fulfills our heart. It's what sets us free. It's what gives us energy and steers us in the direction we're meant to be going in. Now the media is trying to steer us off away from the truth, away from the divine truth, which is so beautiful, so magnificent, so healing, so liberating. Yet the media is trying to steer us off into the darkness. And so we are being steered away by all the information in the media, away from the only thing that is going to save us, the only thing that is going to lift us away from this darkness, from the agendas of evil, the only thing which is going to fulfill us and really give our heart what it needs and really free us from fear. And this is really what the core of what this message is. It's about your freedom from fear, your freedom from darkness, your freedom from illusion, your freedom from a sense of hopelessness and anxiety and pessimism, all of which the media is trying to drum up within you, all of which the media is trying to, how can I put this, smother you with. The media is trying to suffocate you with negativity, suffocate you with negative visions of the future. And so you need people to point you back to the direction you need to be moving in, back to the lighthouse. So this is a bit different. This video is a little bit different. I'm not just going to give you information. I'm not just going to explain things so you can understand mentally. What I want is to help lift your heart so that you feel free. This is not a cerebral experience, because the media wants us in here, because then it can create this labyrinth out of information. The prison is made out of information. Ideas, beliefs, opinions, expectations, it's all information. And that's the prison. And that's why we feel trapped in our fears, trapped in our thoughts, because none of those things can set us free. Not a single thought can set you free. What we need to do is come away from that realm entirely, the realm of information, and remind your heart of its freedom. Remind your heart how beautiful it feels to be free. You don't have to grasp your freedom away from those who are trying to oppress you. You don't have to stop anybody doing this or doing that. You don't have to go and protest on the streets. You have to exercise your true freedom, which is not your freedom to go and march, not your freedom to do this or that. Your true freedom can be felt right now in this moment, and it's in here. Because what we really need freeing from is the restriction of fear, the prison of fear. Because fear is what creates all the darkness, all the anxiety, all the worry, all the sense of unease, the sense that something isn't quite right. That's all created from fear. So what happens is we think about things that are negative, they're not appealing. We don't want them to happen. You know, they can be threatening, they can be things that we want to avoid. We think about them. So we start in here, and we're at the mercy of all those thoughts. And as soon as we bite a thought, as soon as we take the bait of the thought, the moment we take the bait, our heart clenches up and tightens up. And that's when that's the moment that fear gets into your heart. The moment you believe a negative thought, a fearful thought, a thought you don't want to be true, the moment you believe it, your heart tenses up immediately. And then there's this feeling of uneasiness straight away. When the heart is in tension, you cannot be at ease. There'll be a subtle sense of being ill at ease, of something not being quite right. You'll feel in a state of disharmony, that things you just don't feel at rest, you don't feel peaceful. There's something wrong. You just sense there's something wrong. You know that feeling. And it's creeping into people's lives more and more and more, that they just have this constant sense of being ill at ease, a constant sense of uneasiness, that things just aren't quite right, that we should be anxious, we should be afraid. But in fact, the opposite is true. We should be celebrating our freedom, celebrating the fact that we are divinely protected, that we are free to lift up our heart closer to the light, to shake off the parasites of negativity and parasites of fear, shake them off, and allow our heart to bask in the light of God, which shines continuously, which shines for us. And all we have to do is allow the darkness, allow the fear to fall away. Just allow it to fall away. You don't need it. It's not real. It doesn't serve you any purpose. It's not going to make you safer. All fear is going to do is make you feel like you are being preyed upon, that there is something threatening that is going to get you. Now, you could call that thing a name. You could say it's the force of evil, the force of darkness. Or you could just say, well, it's just fear. It doesn't matter what it is. The fact is, it makes you weak. And the fear preys upon you like this giant shadow that seems so threatening. And you think, oh my goodness, this monster must be so huge because the shadow is so big. But fears are tiny. Fears are nothing. They're little thoughts. It's a bit like a cloud in the sky, you know. You can have a very small cloud just drift across, and it drifts over the sun. But the shadow it casts upon the land is enormous because of the distance it is from the land. So when it goes across the sun, it can be very small, but it looks like a huge thing. And that's what fears are. They're so small, they're so insignificant, and they cannot threaten you whatsoever. The feeling of threat comes from believing that has power over you, believing that this bad thing can happen to you, believing that you're in danger. As soon as you believe that, as soon as you take the bait, as soon as you bite the bait, your heart tenses up, and then you are in a state of fear. You are in a fear reality where you do not belong, and where you do not want to be. It is so hard to get out of there. So much of our thoughts, the majority of our thoughts take us. The majority of our thoughts are actually pretty negative on the whole, and they take us into these just anxieties about, am I going to be able to pay for my rent? Am I going, what do these people think of me? Maybe these people are talking about me behind my back. Am I going to be able to go back to work again? But then the thoughts get deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to the core fears, which they have a really strong grip on our heart. You get the superficial fears about money and about other things, what people are thinking about you, what people are saying, do people like you? They're superficial fears. But there are layers, deeper and deeper and deeper layers. And at the core fear is, am I safe? Am I threatened? Am I in danger? Now, if you watch the media and you absorb messages of the media, it's feeding that core fear. The media is feeding this sense of primal danger, that you're just not safe. There are so many threats and they're all coming for you and they're all coming around the next corner and you should be terrified. So the media is feeding that darkness. And the best thing we can do, to be honest with you, is switch it off. The media is like the enemy, as far as I can see. Well, the media is the favorite tool of the enemy to hypnotize you into believing all these dark things, none of which are true. I have to reiterate that. None of these dark visions are true. You're just believing them. You're believing the visions that these clever programs, these clever films, these clever adverts, these clever pop videos, they're all implanting visions in your mind, and they're working together to weave a tapestry of darkness, a tapestry of misery. And if you believe that, then you will lose hope and your heart will descend into a state of hopelessness and darkness and pessimism. Now, I know you don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And thank God that I know how I can avoid going there. I know what I need to do so I don't go anywhere near that realm of darkness, anywhere near that realm of fear and hopelessness. And I want to tell you, I want to remind you, if you know already, or share with you if you don't know, the best way to move away from that realm, to move away from the lies and the hypnosis, the fear, the realm of fear which wants to claim your heart and pull it down to the darkness. The best way, so I'm going to show you in this video, is like, in my experience, the best way to release all negativity, release all fear quickly, and I mean quickly, because I've been in some extreme states of fear. I know what it's like when suddenly you're overcome with this wave of intense fear and pessimism and doom, and what you want to do most in that moment is get as far away as possible. Well, this video is for you, because there are going to be some very challenging things happening in our society. I have to be honest with you. There are some great challenges ahead, and it's going to look like the end of the world on your screens, and people will be believing it. It's going to appear like we're in the apocalypse, like the end of the world, but it's not true. This is a media orchestration. This is an orchestration of evil. This is not the apocalypse, but the media will make it look like the apocalypse. And many people will be believing what they see, what's happening in our society, and it will seem very convincing. So what is very, very important for you is that you understand how to keep your mind in the realm of light, how to keep your mind in the realm of peace and joy, and thus your heart, how to keep yourself in the realm of light when it seems like the world is falling apart, when it seems like, this catastrophic end, the end times, and great turbulence and great fear and great despair in many, many people. And so all we can do to make sure that that is lessened is to remind each person how not to get pulled into states of despair, how not to get sucked in to believing this dark reality that the media is trying to impose upon us. How to stay with the truth. This is all about the truth. It's all about knowing what is true and being there, being in the truth, which is the light, the peace, the beauty, the trust, the faith that you are protected, that no harm can come to you, and that you'll be provided for. You don't need to fret, you don't need to fear, you don't need to worry, you do not need to be anxious, not one little bit. Have peace in your heart and trust that you'll be guided, protected, and provided for. Because peace is essential. Peace means you are not in fear. And essentially what peace is a relaxed heart. Because as I said before, as soon as we believe a fearful thought, our heart tenses up and our whole body's in a state of fear. In that moment, our whole body is in a subtle state of tension, which feels so unpleasant, which just feels so wrong. And the antidote is to relax and let the tension disappear. Because you cannot be afraid when your body is relaxed. Fear is tension. When fear enters our body, it enters our body as tension. It's exactly what it is. And so when you're in tension, you're in fear, you're being influenced by fear. The moment you allow the tension to dissolve and you're relaxed, then you're making a statement that you're safe. You're making a statement that there is no threat. Because if you're choosing to relax, then there is no threat and you're not afraid. The moment you relax, fear cannot be present in your body. Fear and tension are mutually exclusive with relaxation. You cannot be relaxed and afraid at the same time. It's physically impossible. I've been studying this for many years, over 20 years, so I can say this with total authority. You cannot be afraid and relaxed at the same time. It's also true that you can't be afraid and grateful at the same time. But of course that's a bit of a mental thing. Sometimes we have to, we have to convince ourselves, oh, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. But what we really need to do is come back to our body and relax our body, relax our heart. If we stay there, that's our anchor. If we come back to our body, if you stay here, you're going to get tangled up in the spider's web of thought. You're going to, because it's so complicated. It's such a labyrinth, the world of thought. You can't think yourself out of fear. You've got to come back to your body and release the fear and stay in that place where you don't go back into tension. You stay relaxed. And when a thought comes along, another thought comes along, which it will almost immediately, and says, you don't want to relax, you want to be anxious because this is going to happen, or you're threatened in this way, or these are the bad things that people are talking about you, or your mind will come to you straight away and say, no, you don't want to be relaxed. You should be anxious. It'll do that over and over and over again, endlessly, until you become immune to the voice of fear, which starts in here and gets into here and causes our heart to tense up. So the antidote is to stay relaxed, keep your heart relaxed, practice keeping your heart relaxed, non-reactive to the fearful messages, the fearful visions that we're being inundated with. Do not be afraid. Relax, stay at peace, because that's the only way you can access divine reality. If you're in fear, then your lifeline is cut off. You're disconnected. In that moment of fear, you're disconnected from the truth. And so when you notice that happen, when you notice you've gone into fear, don't worry. Just remember to relax. Okay, there's nothing to be afraid of. Fear is an illusion. Just relax my heart, relax my body, and just let my heart be happy. And that seems like a very, inane and superficial thing to say. In the midst of fear, in the midst of great turmoil and turbulence in our society, it's actually very, very important that your heart is happy, that it's allowed to be happy, that it just chooses to be happy. Because that's like your balloon. You hold on to that and it lifts you up. A happy heart is like a balloon, a hot air balloon. It just elevates you to this place where you realize that that's the natural state of your heart, is just to be happy, and that elevates your whole being. That's the core of who you are, and it can elevate you when you just allow it to be at peace, allow it to be relaxed, and allow it to be happy. And this means you're going to have to ignore all the doom and gloom. You're going to have to ignore all the fearmongers, all those who are trying to convince you that this is terrible, that you've got to fight, that you've got to stand up and... No, you have to free yourself from fear. That's what you need to do. That's more important than anything else. That's more important than any social justice protest or going out on the streets and solidarity or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's more important than all of those things put together, because you need to return to reality. You need to reconnect with reality. And you only do that by letting go of the fear, by not being controlled by fear anymore. Because all our fears live in the shadows of our heart, and they tell us, you don't want to look at these fears, they're terrifying. And every time we get close to them, every time we get close to seeing our fears, something in us says, distract yourself, quickly, hurry up, distract yourself. There's this big fear that's going to come and get you. Quick, watch something, think about something, busy yourself with something. That's a very instinctive, conditioned reaction that we have, that we should not look at our fears because they're threatening and they're going to terrify us. But in fact, the opposite is true. I can verify this for years of experience. That what we need to do is stop and say, okay, something here wants to manipulate me. I'm being manipulated. I'm being told that I should be afraid of my fear. And by the way, nothing is bigger than you. Nothing can threaten you. Nothing. Because you dwell in the light of God. You have the light of God flowing through you and radiating out from your heart. And all that fear can do is convince you to dim the light of your own heart. And that happens when your heart contracts. So this is exactly what happens when you believe a fearful thought, and that thought is trying to persuade you to dim your light. And that when your heart contracts with fear, your light gets smaller, and then these fearful energies can come closer to you because you're not surrounded by light. So it's very important to have a relaxed and easy heart, a heart which is not tense, because then your light shines brightly and the darkness can't come anywhere near you. And if darkness cannot threaten you, evil cannot threaten you, because you are full of the light of God. You are a vehicle of God's light. And your job is to shine into the darkness. And that means to flip it around and say, okay, well, let's see, where are these fears hiding? Let's have a look. Where are you hiding? Because these fears are controlling you, and they're stopping you. They're controlling you from the shadows, and they're stopping you being free. That's what fear does. It controls you from the shadows. And your mind, just like they're little puppets, and your ego controls these little puppets of fear. And when you're most coming close to breaking free or to moving closer to the light, the ego says, it's time to bring one of the puppets onto the scene, one of these fearful puppets. And then we go, no, something scary. Quick, distract myself from it. And then we just continue to be manipulated because we don't break free from the manipulation. We believe the threat of these fearful puppets. What we really need to do is look at them. We need to say, okay, look, something's trying to manipulate me. We look at it and we say, you can't threaten me. We look at it and we look at the fears and we bring them to the light. We bring them out into the light and say, okay, this is what I'm afraid of. I'm really afraid that this is true. I'm really afraid that this is going to happen. But while we do that, while we bring it into the light, we stay in peace. So we don't react. This is the core thing to understand. We don't react. We allow our fears to be illuminated by the light of our attention. So we look for them, we shine light on them, so we can see what it is, what belief is trying to control us, what thoughts are trying to stop us opening up and being free. What are they? And we see them and we disconnect the reaction. We kind of cut off their power, because as long as they can make you react to them, they have power over you. But if you don't react to them, so if the thought is there, that scary thought is there, and you look at it, but there's no reaction, your heart stays relaxed, you are free of that fear. And this is what we need to do. Every thought that controls us from the shadows needs to come up and needs to be seen while we stay in peace, while our heart stays relaxed. Because this depotentiates all these little thoughts, all these little beliefs, all these little fears that are controlling us from the shadows. It depotentiates them so they have zero power. They only have zero power when they can be there and you do not react to them. The moment you choose not to react and to stay in peace, that thought, that fear loses all its power over you. And let me remind you, you are bigger than all these little tiny thoughts. You're more powerful and you have the light of God shining through you, which just disintegrates these thoughts. They're nothing. They are nothing. They only look big because you allow yourself to be convinced that they're more powerful than you. They are not. This is the best news in the world, that no fear can threaten you. No thought can threaten you. You are not in danger from anything that you can think about. The danger comes when you allow yourself to be in a state of fear and you don't do anything about it. When you allow yourself to be tense, to be anxious, to have your heart contracted, and you dwell there and you don't address it by letting go of the fear, but instead you try and escape, you distract yourself, you drink more, you smoke more, you eat more, you consume more media, you stare at the screens more, you distract yourself for 4 hours on YouTube or on Instagram. That's a bad idea, because that means the fear still continues to be in control of you. It still continues to have power over you, because it's convinced you to distract yourself from it. And that means you're afraid of it. If you're trying to distract yourself from it, it means you are still afraid of it. And the only thing you can do to be free is to notice that it's there, notice the fear is there, notice that there's this thought that you don't want, and relax your heart. Allow peace to be restored to you. And just say, okay, let's have them all. Show me all the fears. Show me the worst fear that you want to terrify me with. Show it to me, and I'm going to stay in peace. I'm going to look at that fear and not believe it, and stay in peace and trust that nothing is more powerful than God. Nothing can threaten me. That I am safe, because you are safe. In truth, you are safe because you exist in the light. The only reason you're alive is because you have the light of God in you, and you are surrounded, protected by that light. And so we are the ones choosing to make ourselves weak, to make ourselves at the mercy of all these fears which are nothing, insubstantial. So we have to focus on them. We have to hunt them down as if we are the predator and they are the prey. The fears are our prey, and we look at them and we kind of dissolve them, we disintegrate them, and our freedom is fed. When we disintegrate these fears, when we focus on them, when we shine a light on them, and they dissolve because we're not afraid of them anymore, then our freedom is what gets fed. And this state of freedom, we become more and more and more free until we realize there is nothing threatening me. There is nothing threatening me at all. All it is these voices telling you, you should worry, you should be anxious, you should be in a state of fear, you should tense up, you should run away, you should hide, you should distract yourself. Have you ever had a dream? Have you ever had a dream where something's chasing you and you're running from it in the dream? You're running, and there's a sense of dread and fear that this thing's trying to get you. Well, it's a bit like when you go for a walk. Imagine you're going for a walk and you come to a house and there's some little dogs and they're yapping at you. And as you walk past, these little dogs run out of the gate and they chase you and they're yapping at you. And they sound really scary, there's like 4 or 5 of them. And they're yapping at you and they're like, oh, we're coming to get you, we're going to bite your ankles. And they seem so threatening when they're barking and chasing you, But the moment you stop, because as long as you're running, if you start running away, then you're running because of fear. You're confirming the fear. You're validating the fear by running away. The moment you stop, you turn around and you face these things which are chasing you, just like in the dream, you face exactly what's chasing you and you look at it, they turn around and flee. Like little dogs, because I live in the countryside and I see loads of little dogs and they always come running after you, especially if you're cycling, they'll come running after you. The moment I stop and I turn around and I move towards them, they run twice as fast away from me. That's exactly how it works with fear. The moment you say to fear, I'm not afraid of you, I'm coming to find out what you are, I'm going to root you out and shine a light on you to show that I am not afraid, show that I have the power over fear. Fear has no power of me, I have the power over fear. I'm going to look at you, I'm going to see exactly what you are and see how you're manipulating me while remaining in a state of peace. That's when fear runs away. That's when fear disappears. It only stays, it only continues to have a hold on you when you run away from it. Because you are validating the fear. Just in the act of running, just in the act of distracting yourself, in the act of trying to get away from something, you validate that there is a threat. There is no threat. So when you feel fear, when you feel this fear trying to make you run away, trying to hide, stop. Don't distract yourself, don't do anything. Stop and say, okay, some fear is trying to make me run and hide, trying to make me distract myself, trying to make me forget, or just trying to make me escape this moment. So the best thing to do is stand still, relax your heart and say, okay, let me see what you are. Let me see this fear. Let me see. I'm not afraid. And you slow right down, because what fear does is it speeds us up. Fear and stress. Stress is fear. And fear speeds us up. And it makes us go faster and faster just to get to the next moment where there's no fear. If we can just escape, if we can just run fast enough, we can outrun the fear. And it keeps us running.